Okay. It's now recording. I'm Stephen Herdwick, Chair of the Clintonville Area Commission Zoning and Variance Committee, calling the meeting to order. I'm going to pull my paper copy of the agenda here. Any objections to the agenda? Then I'll consider it approved without objection. The draft minutes, first of all, thank you for making that thing together. The only corrections I made before I sent them out was that I noted that Diane and Michael weren't here and Sharon was. And I told the commission that was important because the two people most likely to vote no on a garage variance weren't there, and they needed to know that.
Thanks.
I think they actually did. So with those changes were in the draft agenda, the draft that I sent out. Are there any other changes? So do I have a motion to approve? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Abstain.
2 abstain, so that's 5 yes, 502. Approved 502. And the one thing I want to add at the beginning of this, just that
You're still
echoing. Maybe if I turn the volume, I'll try this. Try turning on the volume on my phone, see if it stops. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. Because that now is the microphone to my phone. My phone is the microphone to the. We do have for next month. We're going to have a variance from Dr. Jillian, the pediatric dentistry. She's my kid's dentist, and I don't see that as any conflict, but I'm letting everyone know in advance in case someone thinks it is, and then we can deal with it. But I don't think it is. I just don't want that to come out at the meeting and people think that there's some plot. But I have let her know, and the commissioner for the district know, and Brittany knows. Variance agenda. First one on the agenda is BZA 25113 64 Fenway Road. To split an existing double lot to relocate a single unit dwelling, the applicant seeks 4 variances, and they're up on the board. I do want to, she did give us additional information that the city wanted to divide these up, and I didn't put those in the agenda. The 3249C goes to 62 Fenway because they're splitting a lot, and 60, and well, you see 2 of them, I'll just let them here. 2 of these go to one of the new units, and 2 of them go to the other unit. It's on this is the public notice that was mailed out to neighbors. If any of you got my letter, that's it. And just to note also, I included myself in the mailing, and I got it on last Friday. So I believe apparently one was received. I believe you received one, so it did go out. The way we do this is the applicant gets to make a presentation. Then there are questions, and they get the floor to do that. There are questions from the floor. From us, excuse me, questions from the committee. Then we go to questions / statements from people from the public. We generally will not ask the applicant to respond to individual statements. The applicant ask you keep taking notes during their presentation, and then you'll get a chance at the end to respond to what you say. Then we'll put a motion on the floor for committee discussion. And I believe the rules, we ask people to limit their comments to 3 minutes if they can. So, can you stand up and come up and give us a couple? Oh, she did give us a statement, additional information. If anyone, I'm going to circulate one. I'm going to circulate one for around there. If anyone wants copies, we'll make sure you get a copy.
Do you need me to stand here? I'm not sure what I'm doing.
No, maybe stand off to the side a little bit. You don't have to be on camera.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, we're not formal.
Okay.
Thanks, go ahead.
Well, my name is Lena Bozelli, and I've had a chance to read the letter that I wrote to all the residents on my street explaining what I would like to do. And I own a number of properties on Fenway Road. Most of those are rentals. And I had an opportunity to sell one of those properties to Wesley Glen. I don't know if all of you know. Okay, so what Wesley Glen wants to do is they want to build more patio homes, which I think is a great idea for them. One of my homes is in their way, and so they made an offer to ask if we wanted to buy it, which I do want to sell that to them. The problem is that they will need to demo the homes on the properties that they're going to expand their patio homes on. And I didn't want them to tear down my house. We love our house. It's like a perfectly nice little Clintonville home. So we didn't want that torn down just to make room for patio homes. So I offered to them, would I be able to move it and would they be agreeable to that? And they said yes. So fortunately, I have a double lot on Fenway Road that if we were able to split that, would house this other home. And so my plan is to move the house from where it's located at 163 Fenway and move that about 12 houses down the road to the split lot of 6264 Fenway. And in order to do that, there are these variances that we would need to be considered, but I think that it's fairly an agreeable proposal because the option to not do this is to tear down another Clintonville home, and I just don't want to do that. So that's what motivates this proposal. I'm not sure if you need me to say anything more about the variances, or that's generally the gist of the proposal.
So this is so that they can put two those are ones, you know what, I'm gonna stick to the, that's so they can put two one-story patio homes on the lot?
Yes, yeah, what they have already existing are one-story, two patio homes, and their plan, I think, was always to continue around their property, their parking lot, to add more of those homes. Apparently their demographic study about baby boomers is everybody wants to live in those homes, and they have a very long list of people waiting to move in there. So I thought it made perfect sense that they should expand. I didn't want to be the reason that they didn't get to offer that to the community. So I feel that it's an agreeable solution that they get the land, which is really all they wanted, and I get to keep my house, which is all I really wanted. So it's kind of a win-win for both of us.
Well, so the public can see, I'll pull up the map. I believe there's a map in here. There.
Right, so that house that you see there is 6264. That's the home that we currently live in. And the double lot, that just happens to be one of the very few double lots on Fenway Road. So that, I think, was just never developed, but the lots are fairly small on Fenway. And when it was originally plotted, the lots were only 50 feet wide. I think as they started building doubles, we own the first 5 doubles on the street, they have all shifted down a little bit, and so they're very close to each other. Driveways are at the very edge of the property line, sometimes a few inches over. So it's a little bit of a cramped neighborhood, but I don't think what I'm proposing is anything that is outstandingly different from what already exists there.
Is this what you're
This north is to the right. So what you're seeing, where your cursor was, okay, that right there is 6264 that we just saw. That's the existing home. And then if you go up the screen and tilt your head to the right, that would be the house that we are relocating to that position. So that's the house right there, the bulk of the home. It's 1,200 square feet. And then to the left, as you're looking at it, the square would be a new 2-car garage that we would build in front in order to accommodate the 2-car requirement. And then below that is kind of an outdoor courtyard, front porch area that allows us just to have some outdoor space that's a little bit more private than just being right on the street. And the reason that it's, I just want to share, the reason it's kind of a jogged line there at this courtyard is that if you look at all of the first 5 houses there, the doubles, they all have this in and out interplay of, you know, how the front of the houses aren't perfectly straight, they jog in and out. So our intent is to kind of replicate or to mimic that same kind of spatial movement up and down the street. So that courtyard not only serves like as a private area to sit outdoors, but it's also going to allow us to build a similar half wall that looks like the rest of the doubles. Because they are stone and siding, and the house we're moving is brick, and I didn't want it to stand out. So we're going to try to make it look like it's been nestled in there for the last 85 years, and looks like it's always been there.
Thank you. Do we have questions from the committee?
So there are going to be 2 new builds, or no?
No, there's no new builds for me.
No, I understand.
I'm just moving my house, but building a new garage on the front and this
Okay.
new front porch courtyard thing. But the existing brick house is what you're seeing off to the right.
Right, that I get.
I'm building a new basement.
But I think what she's asking, you're putting there is, you're not putting the second building on there, but Wesley Glen plans to.
Across the street, right, I'm sorry, I didn't explain that this is a house that's on the south side of the street where Wesley Glen is. They own they own 2 other homes there. I'm the middle home, so I'm kind of like in their way for their project. And so I want to try to get my house and me out of the way. So they will be building on the Wesley Glen property. The only thing I'm doing is bringing my house to the north side of the street and putting it in that empty double lot.
So the variances are for
That house, yeah, they're on
That's
their.
going to be,
Yeah, that's
got
just
it,
for
okay.
mine, yeah.
okay.
Is there any variances for, what, is this something Wesley,
Yeah.
is Wesley Glen is not planning on putting anything in there?
No, they are not on the north side of the street at all. That's just me on the north side. They are on the south side. Everything they're doing is contained on the south side, and that's their business. But that house right there, 6264, was built as a double. All of the doubles were built with only a 2-car garage. So initially they were all built as 1-bedroom units that had 1 garage space. And I'm not really changing anything about 6264. However, because because I'm touching the lot, and so now the requirement of 2 parking spaces per dwelling makes that have a requirement of 4 parking spaces. You're never going to fit 4 parking spaces per property on that street. They don't fit. So the variance is to allow at the very, very bottom there, right there, that is a parking pad with 2 car spaces where people can park there, 1 for each side. So it'll be a double with the same thing it has now, which is a 2-car off-street parking space, and that's exactly what it's still going to have. I'm not changing anything about it. It just doesn't meet the current code, is all. And all of them are like that. They're all just 1 space per each dwelling, not 2. I don't know if I can explain that well enough. Does that make sense?
Other questions from the committee?
So other homes on the street are in that 60 feet to 50 feet.
Yeah,
Some that are smaller and some that are.
Yeah, I actually
The
have the
60.
bigger lots. There's a few homes that are very wide and they live on double lots.
Mhm.
But after our 5 doubles, the majority of the properties are 50 feet wide. So I'm proposing that my split is 53. I'm not even the smallest one on the street. They are mostly all 50 feet. It's just that because mine are doubles, they're at the beginning, I think that may have been built first.
Yeah.
They, I think, didn't realize they were building doubles that needed more space, and so one of my driveways is 2 inches on my other house. I mean, they're just all kind of jumbled in there, but the rest of the street is about a 50-foot lot.
Going once, going twice. Okay, now, now members of the public, just please give your name and if you live near this, if you could explain where you live in relationship to the project. So I know we're coming over here and then I'll go around. Sir, yes, you.
I've read through it and I
Oh,
don't
can you give your
really
name?
have any objections or
Can you-
anything.
Can you give your,
Oh, sure,
if you don't want to speak, you don't have to. I
Well-
thought you did.
I can speak. Richard Fowler, 57 Westview Avenue. I've looked through the proposals. I don't, have any concerns. I live to the north of her, on the adjoining street. My property currently does back up to her existing home there. And I don't have any objections. I don't think it'll change anything like drainage or any important things like that. That's it.
Okay, I'm gonna pull up the map of this. I found, yeah. There we go. Yes. Anyone else here to speak on this?
Josh Hively, I'm the Clintonville Area Commissioner, not for this district, but for a neighboring district. Just for clarification, you live at 134.
No, I live at 62,
Got it.
64.
You're at
It's a
62.
double. It's a double that we made an opening door, so we took up the whole house.
Got it.
Yeah. So
The house from 134,
163 is the house we're moving.
that's moving onto the other.
Right, that's a house, 3-bedroom, 1-bath house that we had. It was, we rented it to someone for like 15 years. That's the home that Wesley Glenn wants to buy the land, and that's the home that I would like to transport onto our double lot.
Got it.
Just
And
to
then
keep it.
you stay where you're at, that gets a new tenant.
Well, I don't know if I have to. I mean,
Well,
I might.
I guess you don't have- yeah, yeah.
I might want to live in this
Maybe
house, so
in the
let's
other one.
spend a lot of
Okay, okay.
effort on it.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Understood, okay, thank you.
But either we'll be next door or we'll be in that house.
Thank you.
Well, and we did pass around, if anyone wanted to see your statement, not get a chance to see it, we have extra copies here if you want it. Just want to make sure the public can see everything we're seeing. Okay, then it comes back, there's no more public comment.
Did you want to speak, gentleman in the back?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. I live in Arlington, and there are a lot of George.
Can you give your name, please?
Richard Lynch. And I live in Arlington, and there are a lot of George Moore houses in Arlington. And he, I understand, is a famous architect. And this house that's being moved is a George Moore house.
Thank you. I didn't even mention that part. That's part of why I'm trying to say that is because it is a George Moore home. I think there's maybe one other one on Fenway. But given the reputation, I don't know very much about him, but I just know he was a notable architect that built a number of houses in both Upper Arlington and in Clintonville. And so for that reason, also, I don't feel that we should be tearing down this house. So I really would like to try to save it for Clintonville and for George Moore.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up. Sorry, I didn't see your hand.
That's all right.
Did I miss anyone else? Okay. And just so you know, I think now it comes back to committee. Do you have any questions or statements, or do I? No, I know. I put a motion on the table. The chair puts the motion on the table that says, the chair moves that we adopt this application as submitted. That does not require a second. It's on the floor now. It's available for discussion.
It looks like a good, thoughtful solution that looks like it's pretty positive for the community and for the people with individual interests. So I like this solution.
Any other comments you want the commissioners to read when they see our minutes? Then I'll make my comment when I vote. Start over here.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
And yes, for me as well, so it's, and my reason is it's the same, similar to what you said. This is designed to save a historic house. That's what we want people to do. The commission, people get upset understandably when nice houses get torn down. And here's someone going through a lot of effort to save one, and I'm glad we can do some help to make it happen. And so you have unanimous recommendation to the city, to the CAC. And I have also made sure the city is aware. I'm trying to make the city more aware of what our deadlines are, so that the most popular time for the city to send the applications for both this meeting and the next meeting seems to be the week after the deadline.
And if I may, I did stress upon them every time I met with them that I absolutely needed to get it to you for last month's meeting. So now they've jammed me up a little bit that I've got to hurry up and do it in December here, but I'll get it done. It's just that That's an excellent point, because I didn't know what else to say to them to get it to you sooner.
Thank you.
I
appreciate
just have one. When was the house built?
I think 1952.
52.
Okay, on to the next application.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Columbia Gas. This is another Columbia Gas. It's CV 25093 700 Morse Road to allow natural gas regulation station in the community activity center. If you haven't heard what community activity center is, that's because it's a new category under Zone N. And they want to put something in that, because they want to put something there that's not within the zone and what the zone N contemplates, they have to come to us for variance and go to city council. So you have the floor. Can you say your names and then?
Leah Lewis, Columbia Gas Public Affairs.
And Greg Peck, Burns and McDonnell Engineering.
Okay, you have the floor to explain your application.
I'm here for support. You know, Clintonville is my neighborhood, so I'm just here to support.
Sure. So Greg Peck again with Burns and McDonnell Engineering Company representing Columbia Gas and the purpose for this project. So the purpose for this project is driven by federal regulation to replace not only station work, but also corresponding pipeline throughout the Columbus, Ohio community. Again, per regulation, pipeline regulation and federal regulation. That is the biggest driver. So this application spells out the purpose for a new M&R, which is a metering and regulation station. And Columbia is looking at the intersection of Morris and Indianola for this footprint. Currently, there is an existing office building at this site, and to my understanding, Columbia is negotiating land acquisition of this footprint. So what this would be is an above ground structure, essentially, with a fence around the perimeter. And again, this would be a metering and regulation footprint. It would not have necessarily a walkway in or around, and it would have internal parking inside the fence line. Of course, per all the regulations and all the standards and codes, it would meet everything within the city and be compliant as well federally, along with stormwater and runoff. So we would meet all of the regulations and standards. There we go. Thank you. Okay, this is the footprint. This is the site plan. Again, it would be the southwest corner, if you will, of Morse and Indianola. At that intersection right there. Again, I'm sorry, there we go, northeast. You can see the shaded area that depicts, in the bottom corner of this site, that depicts the current office building that is there right now. So what Columbia is proposing to do with this footprint is to remove the office building and then build this above ground
Can I pause
structure.
for a second? I'm not sure if the camera's looking at it. To change from red to blue. So I'm going to change. I'm gonna go. My phone will be okay for the next rest of the meeting. I want to make sure that we're recording. It says we're still recording, but I want to make sure it stays that way. Apologize for interrupting you. I thought. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. So just to reiterate that last point, so the shaded area within the site footprint, the bottom corner, that depicts the existing building right now. So again, what Columbia is proposing is removing and demolishing this existing building. It's relatively flat on its current surface right now. So all the asphalt would be removed along with the building, and then it would be leveled off the ground, and it would be an M&R, again, a typical M&R station for Columbia, and it would meet the guidelines for CAC as well as City of Columbus, with not only stormwater runoff, storm management planning, aesthetics as well. So we're here to basically seek out this application and further discuss this footprint.
And I'll just add some kind of color. As the Clintonville community knows, this isn't our first conversation about these M&R stations. We had a lot of conversations in 2024 about the new construction that'll happen in 2027 for our Weber sites. So this will be just in addition to that overall project, throughout our footprint. So it's not really new conversations, but this will be a new site to kind of continue that larger project for the North Campus high pressure. And the beauty, it's not in the residential area like we're dealing with Weber, right? Broad Morris away from people. So that's the upside of this location versus some of our more residential areas.
What is the business that is there? I've forgotten.
The business that is there right
The
now.
one that you're trying to.
It's a multi-tenant office.
It's an office building, that's right.
You'll probably get asked by the commissioner, have you talked with the tenants there to figure out transition plans?
Eve, I believe Eve. Columbia
Yes, we're
Gas
working
Land.
through that. We just, you know how conversations are. You don't want to have them too early to spark fear, but also not too late. So we're making sure everything will go through before we have that transitional conversation with the current tenants. Because I know you were asking a question.
So, what I'm looking at, is that gonna be encased in a building like the Weber project? Is this out in the open?
So this would be a proposed 6-foot, well, I believe it's a wrought iron per the guidelines of CAC. I think it's a wrought iron all the way around the perimeter. And if you pull a site plan back up, I want to say it's, just for discussion's sake, I want to say it's maybe 100 by 120. I forget the footprint, but the idea from a design perspective is the whole perimeter would be that wrought iron perspective, and it would be open. It would be a fence, and there would be no building on site. What you see there, not to bore you all, but all the lines essentially, that is just pipeline above ground, and then it goes below ground before it goes outside of the perimeter of the fence.
Is there a landscaping plan?
That's what we're trying to seek out here as far as landscaping. What are the actual requirements other than the CNP, the Clintonville Neighborhood Plan, in the city of Columbus? So we're trying to have discussions as well in a parallel fashion with the city of Columbus if they have any other requirements from a landscaping perspective. Right now, this is our pre-60% design right here for the site.
I don't know what 360%
What?
is.
Pre-60, it's a very prelim design
Gotcha.
right now.
How are you managing stormwater on site?
So stormwater on site will be basins typically. We're not there on the civil design quite yet. So we're still calculating everything with environmental and civil. But right now it'll probably be detentions and basins from a stormwater perspective.
The entire site appears to be gravel. Where would they go?
I'm sorry?
Where would they be located?
It would be underground.
Underground,
It would have to be because this.
not surface.
Correct, yeah, not surface there. Sorry, I missed your question. But yeah, it would be underground like we've done on multiple other sites for Columbia in designing across not only Columbus, but just Ohio in general. Where we're landlocked, where it's a tight footprint, we go underground with it. It takes away an eyesore, lack of better words.
Do you have elevations for this?
Yes, on one of the prints, I believe there were 5 or 6 pages. There's some elevations there.
I don't see any.
It's on, I believe it's the last page. We have a site or a drainage plan, unless it didn't
This is
get
the
rolled
last page of what?
No, the drawings, sir. There's a drainage plan.
No, I mean elevation, like what this is gonna look like from the street.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant grading and topography.
No.
The elevations aren't on here, but we can provide those.
That would be, I think, really helpful going to the commission.
Yeah, a sample. Yeah, we can do that.
So you haven't acquired the property yet?
I don't
We're
believe
in
it's
the
been
due
fully
diligence
acquired.
phase.
Sorry?
We're in the due diligence phase now.
Okay.
Exactly what that means, I
What
don't know, but that's what they said on the call. So like, we're almost there, but not like officially.
It probably means that the contract is contingent upon them getting this variance to do what they want to do to it.
And not the other way around? Like get the property and then.
Right, because then you might not get what you want, and so, it's normal customary.
You can, if you get those, if you get any drawings or any graphics to the chair of the commission, Brittany Bolton, she can put them up on the screen. They have a better screen than we have here.
Oh,
And she can put them up during the meeting.
It's not that much better.
But, yeah, and if you, I think the commission will want to hear more about landscaping and trees and things like that.
That's what we
Yeah,
asked
there are-
for for the Weber case. I'm looking at the Weber case.
Now, there are,
Screening, landscaping, what's above ground, what kind of fencing.
yeah, the fencing, again, on this specific footprint would be a recommended wrought iron. It would meet CAC, I believe, and 6 foot is the recommended, through the CMP plan, I believe, looking through that. So that's what would be proposed here, a 6 foot wrought iron around the perimeter, from an elevation standpoint and a visual. And literally within that would be, on the inside, if you will, would be the, maybe 3 foot high pipes on the inside before they go underground at about waist high or chest high elevation.
The reason I'm asking about elevations is like with the Weber case, the elevation showed a big blank white wall, and we asked if they would be interested in including like false architectural detail so it doesn't just look like a big blank wall. That's
Okay.
one of the reasons you kind of want to provide an elevation.
Okay. I wasn't aware of, yeah, we weren't
Yeah.
affiliated with Weber.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I can show you some of the
Okay.
Weber designs.
Yeah.
It's
I'll show
quite
you my
nice.
Okay.
chicken
I would
scratch.
live in them.
It was,
Oh.
yeah.
As for landscaping, I think, and Weber, you had neighbors who could say what they wanted, and I think we,
Right.
at the,
I know them all very well.
You know
I
that very
remember
well.
when your representative kept saying, well, what do you think we should have? I said, what I want doesn't,
I did not say that this time.
That is-
You see, I'm
Yeah.
going a different route.
Yes, but the problem is there are no neighbors here to talk to, so it takes to be but also, I guess one thing I'd also to think about is, if you look at the whole neighborhood, for long term, that this looks like Michael can correct me if I'm wrong, but it looked like a pretty good place to do a bigger, at some point, someone could put something bigger in there that's nicer than a Motel 6. And to think about how your place would fit to allow additional development to the north of it.
Okay.
So that people would still want to move there, because that seems like a pretty prime piece of land, eventually.
Maybe we can buy it. I'm kidding. Don't take that back.
Take it.
I will say, if you zoom in on the property, if you don't mind, there you go. So there are trees just to the south of that building and on the west side of that building. There are trees, but those trees fall just on the outside of the actual easement. Columbia's standpoint would be not to impact those trees. So again, we would just be on the footprint, on the confines of that easement, where we would demo the building and then put this station in, keep those trees intact. That's the design plan as of now, and execute the footprint itself as proposed.
So is the intent to remove all of the asphalt as well?
Yes, we would have to because of drainage on the site, and then with the basin as well for stormwater to meet code and regulation, we would have to.
So the revised grade would be gravel?
Yeah, that is correct. It would be gravel within the confines of the station. Because of the trucks, the technicians go in every couple of months. They would pull into the drive, into the fence line, and they would perform like a monthly operation and maintenance task, an O&M task. And that's why they have a turnaround on the site plan, not to jump back and forth, but the site plan design, I believe the city may have asked during our application, or some folks asked, why do you have a driveway on the outside of the footprint of the site plan? Well, that's for a local Columbia truck to park out there, and they have to have a turnaround that meets Columbia's criteria. So their truck radius can pull in and back in safely. So it's a safety task for them. So they have to back in and park in such a way that meets the company's, policies.
So I would also suggest that we, present to CAC that you have elevations that include your proposed landscaping and
And screening.
visual appearance as it's going to impact the area aesthetically.
Landscaping, screening, fencing,
Okay.
all those things should be, in the elevations.
Okay. Thank you for pointing that up again. That's the turnaround, excuse me, on the outside of the fence I was referring to the west side of that footprint. We had a couple of questions on that. That's why I wanted to draw attention to it.
For the committee, goes any further, Drew Miller, I forgot to get the commissioner's report. Do you have anything you wanted to say?
Just a couple of questions.
Okay, let him, he could actually serve on the committee for this if he wants to. That's the.
So I just have a couple of questions. Was the commercial building on the real estate market when Columbia Gas purchased it?
What's the question again?
Was the building on the market when Columbia Gas
No.
purchased it? It was off market. Was there any other locations considered?
There are many locations that were considered. We had a lot of conversations, but this one was the most valuable. So it wasn't like our first choice. It was probably choice number something. But this is what was able to come to this point. So this was the most valuable.
Okay. And so the variance you're asking for, just to clarify, is to allow this use in community activity center. And so I'm wondering if you can explain a little bit. Typically when variances are granted, there's like a reason, a hardship or something. Obviously your use is clearly the hardship, but as a community, this community activity center is a lot different from what you're proposing here. And so, a commercial building provides amenities and resources and revenue to the city and to the community. And so I'm just wondering how you guys, how Columbia Gas might justify proposing this at this location.
I love that question that you asked. I don't have the answer, so I'm not gonna try to come up with one, but I can get some answers for you that kind of answer that question.
Okay. And then a couple of neighbors had asked me too, there's clearly some vacant sites to the east of the tracks right here. Was that property considered?
To the east, yeah, if you go pull the map back up, if you don't mind, my apologies. I just want to make sure I'm addressing the question from what I know. Are you referring to the east side of the railroad, the overhead railroad?
Yeah.
So between there and 71,
Mm-hmm.
is that? Yeah, so that was sought out by Columbia Land to my knowledge, and they went back and forth essentially, and they couldn't meet a common ground. So they had two lots in that corridor, and then north of there by maybe 1,000 feet, there's another option. There we go, because there's a hotel, I believe, up in that corridor.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to negotiate. And I don't think that went well at all, quite frankly. And this was, I want to say, the fifth or sixth option, this footprint that we're discussing tonight. Okay. To my knowledge.
Yeah, we tried with, I won't get specific, but there were several other locations in that vicinity that we would have probably preferred, but we just couldn't get to that. Try to close the deal, so this was the best that we could.
Well, I can't let you know there has been interest. Neighbors have reached out to me about this corridor of Indianola. Right now, the area commission suggested, and we're supposed to be receiving funds to put in a walking path along Indianola right here. And I have heard interest from business owners about opening up a restaurant, coffee shop along this corridor as well. And so, just from that perspective, I can let you know that the feedback I'm receiving is that this is really undesirable at this location.
Do you think that, and that's me, I want to make the world a better place. Do you think, because I'm all for a coffee shop in Clintonville, you know that I am. Do you feel as though we could partner to still give I'm all about giving the community as much as we can. But do you think that there's a way for us to build this site and still give the community the things that they desire?
I'm just really not sure what that would look like.
I'm not either, but we can get creative. So I never want to be like, no, that's just not a possibility. But I also want the community to say, Leah, we're willing to work with you. So,
well, I think what the difficulty is, so Worthington is just north of Clintonville here, up Indianola, and so this is really, I think, viewed as a gateway into Clintonville and Worthington, and obviously the metering station isn't very attractive on the corner there.
that's good. Let's get together. Obviously, I know the community will not stop, and you know they call me many, many times a day to just figure out what that could look like. Because I don't think that it's impossible for everybody to be able to like win. And again, I'm all for coffee shop in Clintonville. So let's just figure out what that can look like.
Can you get those people in contact with, well, I guess it's, one thing it's hard for us as committee members and your colleagues is to say, this is what we want you to do, and when neighbors can look at it. And now that, all that also goes out, some of it goes outside the scope of zoning, although if they're reusing it, that's a pretty big scope, changing the use of the area, so that is a pretty big scope.
It is a big scope, and I think what I have been struggling to answer for people, most people that have reached out to me have said, well, let's get to this meeting, let's hear them out, try to understand what exactly the project is. But what I've not been able to answer for them is it's a variance request, and so I'm trying to understand what we need to consider when we grant a variance.
I think it's as long as it's relevant to what they're asking for, and if it's something that, if it's something that would be different with this use as opposed to what the use is in current city code, then that's fair game to discuss with them. That's the way, at least that's the way I interpret what they're saying. And for fair game for the committee and commission to consider.
I would also like to add one other comment, is that a lot of these future M&R sites, and this, I can't speak for everyone at Columbia, but just my own knowledge is that a lot of these sites are selected upon not only negotiation and acquisition, obviously, but it's also its approximate location relative to any existing and proposed pipelines, obviously. So to keep things down and economical, if you will, and more costly, or less costly, excuse me, for a lot of the ratepayers for Columbia Gas, proximity and the geography is key, in my words, for where these M&R stations are. I'm not saying that that's the be-all end-all here. Please don't take it as that. But in other words, hypothetically, a station could be a quarter of a mile from there. Well, now you may have to run through more pipelines way out of the way. So Columbia is trying to do the most economical thing, in a sense, with landing some of these future M&R stations. And I totally understand what you're saying about its proximity here and being a gateway. So I agree. It's just tough, as you can imagine, negotiating land with a bunch of different landowners and trying to appease the masses with these stations.
There's a question. Do you, Commissioner Miller, do you have anything?
Nope.
I interrupted the committee questions to go to the commissioner.
That's okay. He had good points. On your site plan, it appears that you're virtually utilizing the entire site. Is that necessary, or could the site potentially be partially utilized for its current use, or,
So the reason why it's laid out the way it is, to expand on that, when you look at the truck turnaround, again, the local technicians for Columbia Gas in the city here would be pulling in and backing in such a way. That's why they have the drive. If you go
basically a
to
three-point
site plan one, the first drawing, I believe, depicts that, but you have to have proper spacing from some of the components in there because of the electrical classification within the footprint. But to answer you in short, yes, we can always try to minimize the footprint but it's a question of the designers, and I have to reach back to those folks to try to shrink that as much as possible. We can do that, and also, this goes back to another point, is a good question. It's another point earlier, somebody had asked about the due diligence. So the due diligence within Columbia, part of that process is Columbia talking with the landowner and understanding what existing easements are on that title work. So now that they're talking with this owner, this current owner, they pull title as common knowledge, and then they sift through all the existing easements on that footprint. So what Columbia is doing now is understanding, are there electrical easements, are there XYZ there? So that's part of the due diligence period. And we're finding there are like an electrical easement on the east side, so that may shrink the footprint even more, to go back to your point, man. So yes, we can shrink it, it's just a question of how much and what's practical with safety and operators being in and out of there, and can they do their job?
And just, yeah, it's always funny to find out what's under the ground, because we want to come there,
Exactly.
but some people got there first. So there are some things that we're working through. I don't know all the details, so I'm not going to start just yapping, but we are just trying to work through who came first and is it truly viable.
Would this, what would, if your project falls through, will this zoning would then stay with the property? This would now be zoned. Would it be, is this an extra permitted use, or is it replacing the use of the community activity center?
Well, this would be, to my understanding, this is mixed use, correct? And we can, since it's a public utility, the feedback I received from the city of Columbus and countless other people, we couldn't rezone this because it's a public utility. We're asking for the variance, correct? I mean, that's part of the process.
So if
Is the variance for that?
Yes.
use?
Yes, yeah, well, but the
I'm
variance.
sorry, did I misunderstand your question?
It doesn't, I think I've answered my question by rereading the text that I put in the minutes, but this is one additional use, so that if this variance is granted and that your plan falls through, everything that was allowed before is still allowed, everything that was prohibited is still prohibited, except if someone else wants to put in a major gas station, they could, a major gas supply station, not gas station.
I think the variance is specific to the applicant.
Yes.
It's attached to the person, not the property.
I thought this is attached to the person, I thought this is
Most
attached.
variances are to, most variances are to the property
It means forever that this is a permitted use in the location.
Right.
But it's not like someone can go put in a manufacturing plant based on this variance. Okay, do other questions from the committee? Okay, any people from the public come to speak? Yes.
Josh Hively, Clintonville Area Commissioner, District 9, which is just to the left of the school for the deaf, or sorry, District 8. Just to the left of the school for the deaf there. I also live in the neighborhood just to the left of the school for the deaf. I've been personally through this process with Columbia Gas. I own an apartment building, a few apartment buildings, but I own 2 at High and Morse there. Columbia Gas tried to work with us to get an easement maybe back in 2020. I think we pushed back a little too hard. They ended up doing a deal with the neighbor, which was fine. I don't have the easement, so it worked out okay. We did miss out on some money, but so I've been through the process and I'm familiar with it. I will say I've had meetings this week with the superintendent at the School for the Deaf, as well as the facilities director there.
We've been talking a lot.
Yep, I know that you guys have looked a lot at that site over a period of time. My only feedback would be, after my meetings with them this week, I think they maybe feel like they're in the same position that I was a few years ago. They're interested, but I think maybe they feel like they pushed back too hard, and you guys like ran off and found something else. So I would just encourage to maybe reopen that conversation with them and
It's
see.
so funny you should say that. They brought me in late in the game, and I think if I would have been brought in a little bit earlier, the conversations would have been a little bit more flavorful and colorful. I think by the time they gave us some alternate, and I didn't want to like name drop and say this is what we're talking to.
Yeah.
But I think once, like where they first originally were like, this is the only spot, they had an idea of what a station would look like, and they kind of, what you were saying, this is our home. We don't want that here. Like it's not gonna look good. But then once I started saying, well, we actually made it look really nice on Weber, they're like, oh, maybe I'll give you a different spot now that I know that. But I think at that point we were so far in the game of this like plan 7, it didn't make sense. But I'm glad that you mentioned that, knowing that there are some other things happening at this site. So we have kind of gone back to this table saying this may not work out. Let's come back and have some deeper conversation. So it's not off the table.
Yeah.
It's just we were so, far along in that conversation, we kind of just kept moving forward.
Yeah, and I think to his point, we hate to just tear down a decent build. I haven't been in the building, but they're older buildings.
It's not decent. But I also just want to say,
but then I do think as that multi-use trail connects through there and things, I think that area becomes a little bit more desirable. And the School for the Deaf certainly has a little bit of available real estate there, as you can see. So if it's not too far along in the process, I guess I would just encourage maybe another call.
No, we have plenty of calls and conversations.
And I know dealing with them is going to be a lot more red tape than just purchasing directly from a private owner.
Red, purple,
yeah. So,
it's owned by the state of Ohio.
But I do think they still have some interest in the project if it's possible to re-explore that.
And I just want to add to what he's the smart guy in this conversation. Just they will provide us some locations, but it still comes down to how much more pipe will have to be put in to go to where it needs to go to be rerouted, and that's kind of engineering. So it's an onion, lots of layers, different conversations, but Ohio, that school is not like completely off the table. But from being a good neighbor and understanding the advocacy for trails and new bills, there are still ways for Columbia Gas to get the end result that the community is desiring. Even if it wasn't in one spot, we did have to demo this. It's not saying we still can't get trails, we still can't get coffee shops. We just got to get creative in what that looks like. So I never want to say no to anything. On record, I will not say yes to everything because I don't have the ability to do that. But I think the conversations can be had and we can come to a resolution.
So I have a question. If you do end up going to the school, would you be coming back for another variance? Like if you wanted to put it on the northwest side of this intersection?
I don't know the politics for like the school with that. I know that it's, like you said, red tape. There are a bunch of things we have to do. I don't know from like a variance perspective what that would look like since it will be on their property. So it might look different, but something that I've said to the school is Clintonville and their input is very important. So even if we would be on their property, we still be at the area commission to get that input of like, what would you like to see? What's important to you? Even if it looked different, even if the requirement wasn't there per se, we'd still have conversations with the community because that's my commitment.
Yeah, I guess my question is, are you looking at this intersection or this like area, this region? Like how big of a kind of location?
The corner was already looked at, to be very brief. That corner right there, there's the big signage right here. This gentleman, I'm sorry, I forgot your name, but right there at the corner, that was already discussed and somewhat negotiated with SOD or School of Deaf. Again, months and months ago, didn't work out. Now they're talking possibly other options, possibly on their grounds. I don't know what that looks like, and I honestly don't know their zoning right now offhand. I have to look it up, but is it variance required? Is it not? But to Leah's point, if we have to get back in front of you all, open that conversation up again, more than happy to do so.
Because wherever their sign is, it was not an option. Wherever their school sign is, it was 0 out of 10, it's not gonna
The north-
happen.
Yeah, it's the northwest,
Okay.
or their southeast corner, but it's the northwest of that intersection.
So it would be somewhere else. That's what-
Yeah, putting it right on the corner wouldn't be a great solution.
I was like, well, we can make it look like a security office. And
Without just like
that was the
that's
one spot.
potentially developable land, so.
Am I not remembering that about a bazillion years ago, they were talking about that area as a light rail station?
Yeah, the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, they had like a long-term.
It was
plan.
that corner, was it not?
It was, yes.
They also have another parcel just behind the trees to the north there that was looked at for a potential YMCA at one point. I think that fell through, but
That's the one they put on Carl Road.
yeah. So those two little areas.
I
are
just
high.
remember the light rail thing.
Just beyond the trees on the north there, they call that the back 40.
Oh, is that they were, yeah,
we talked
they're like,
about
the back
that
40, you don't want that? And we're like,
just from a pipeline routing perspective.
It would
And
just be a
other
lot of
variables.
There's a ravine back there.
Yeah,
There's a
exactly.
On the back side of the road.
Yeah, the back fork, yeah.
Yeah, so those conversations are still open.
Are there
Sounds like.
questions from the committee?
Sorry, I have one more question. The new line that will be coming down 27 maybe. That's from like Carl to Bethel, I think.
mm-hmm.
This station servicing that line or existing infrastructure?
The
new
this new proposed station would be servicing that
Supporting
new
the new
line.
line, yeah.
So again, it being paramount, the proximity to the new and proposed versus running something up a mile away. Sure, it's just that much more footage, that much labor, so on and so forth.
Because we have the station already on Carl Road. We have the one on Weber. We'll have the 2 new ones on Weber. So this will kind of be like in the middle of those.
Yes.
So I guess to that point, I've heard feedback too that there's an option for Columbia Gas to go to 161, and I think a lot of people's opinion is that it'd be less impactful. Is that what you mean by saying a mile? To the north?
No, I'm not. I'm toward the back 40 off Indianola. If
Oh.
you were to propose a station, like we've had some residents ask, why can't you just land this new XYZ station, Morrison, Indianola, we'll call it. Why don't you just run that north by 3/4 of a mile or a mile or whatever that number is? And again, you would have to take 3 additional pipelines from Morse Road all the way up Indianola. And you would have to fully close Indianola from an MOT, a maintenance of traffic perspective. When you do the leg, you would have to do the whole road. You would have to install it in that footprint or get easement from the School of Deaf. Sorry, I know I'm going down a rabbit hole here, but so it would just be a litany of extra pipeline, extra footage, and a huge amount of costs if you were to run it that way. So Columbia is trying to look at it from all sides of what are our options. And this is why we're coming to you tonight with this proposal, quite frankly.
Anyone else come to speak to this issue? Anyone else want to speak to this issue? Commissioners, do you figure if you had conversations you think need to happen at this point? Then it comes back to the committee for, the chair puts on the table a motion to approve as submitted.
The property is transferred 3 times since 2017. Transferred in 2017, 2020, and 2022, and with each purchase, it stayed an office building. So I think that's what the market is telling us is its highest and best use. Right? I mean, no restaurant let in there to scoop it up and go like great location or anything like that. It's a gateway. That intersection is a gateway into our community, and into Beachwood. And the city spent a lot of money doing that whole interchange, 71, stuff like that. I can't support this without knowing what this thing is going to look like. It's too important. It's too much of a critical corner. I'm glad the trees are staying and stuff like that. I don't know what this turnaround is going to look like, and I want to hear more about the trail that possibly could go in. I don't know if that's going to go in a right of way or take some public land. I don't know. So I think this is half-baked right now.
I feel that, like if it were a grade, it would be incomplete right now. I wouldn't feel comfortable supporting it without seeing elevations of the things we were talking about, having a better idea of what it actually would look like because of where it is, because of your entering the community from that direction, any direction. So I'm not comfortable as yet.
I would also echo the same thing. This committee, we typically do not look at applications that are in a 60% planning stage. We typically have more details, more elevations, more finalized plans than what you're saying here. I'm still hearing a lot of comments from you that the whole project is in flux. The whole site plan could change based on what you're finding on conditions on the site. And I also am comfortable approving this without having some more firm details on that.
I think the potential impacts of the rezoning of this to the community activity center will take years to see, right? I mean, those projects happen slowly, but the intention was that intersections and thoroughfares like this become more of a higher use area and become more actively developed, breaking down the barriers to allow that. This use on this corner would permanently limit the ability of adjacent property owners to do that. You know, whether it's to the north or those on the south side of Morse, I think it would be a permanent eyesore here and would essentially kill the intersection. So, I think regardless of what's developed, unfortunately, it's just an inappropriate use for this particular location, especially when there's a more industrialized area just on the other side of the tracks that are, while maybe more expensive, better suited to this.
We're at a premature point in terms of the plan and the development. I think to make a decision, I think our call would just allow too many variations on what it could be or should be, and the fact of the matter is, from the point in development that they're at, they could actually even still decide, we don't even want this. So I concur.
Any other? Then we'll take a vote. Start, Diane.
No.
No.
I want to say one thing. This
No,
is a
it's fair.
change.
Everything is
I'm
fair.
going to vote no as well, but I think some of it is this is a major change of use for that area, and the city went through all this effort with Zone N to come up with the attempted plan. I think I would want to see more. How are you going to make this fit? At this point, we don't see how you're going to make this fit. You've done well working with other neighbors. That once is decided.
This is a new set of
This is-
people, so we need to show you what we're thinking.
So it goes to the commission. It goes to the commission with a negative vote. Though they are different from us, they get to make their own decisions.
Take it to them now. Okay, you have to
So,
understand.
but,
To the
no, but
committee.
we
To
will-
the area commission, yeah.
we will
Oh, they're
take it
already
to
here,
the
they know.
commission.
Well, two of them are.
And I don't know if they have the mechanism to send it back here. If they want to send it back here, again, I'll try to look at that in a way between now and then. But I also do think, in the past, we probably would have tabled something like this and told you to come back, but our rules say we don't do that because we think you're entitled to a yes or a no, and you're entitled to move on to the next step. And if we vote no, we vote no. But I think it's good for you to have this conversation with the full commission.
But I think that we can take all this feedback, all the things that you're looking for, and we can, I don't know if we'll have that by next week, but we will have that by next week as much as we can, and hope for a different outcome.
Or
I
table, or ask it to be tabled.
I like that one instead of no.
Yeah, I mean, procedurally, should they have the option to choose to table?
Well, they can ask. I think it's already been approved, so we'd have to file a reconsideration motion. my thought, you could table it and come back to us, but I could also, there's also value in talking to the 9 elected commissioners
Right.
and to leave, and you,
Just have it in the
Commissioner
back of your
Miller,
mind.
you are both the ex officio member of this committee and part of the CAC. Do you agree that the commission should hear from them next week?
Yeah, my suggestion would be come to the commission. I think,
No, I'm in it.
yeah, I think maybe there'd be more attendance and, yeah, I think all the commissioners might have an opinion if they weren't able to make it tonight. But it, obviously, yeah, the commission could, you know, or you could request a table or the commission could send it back here.
And that's also just part of the reason we have 8, we used to do this meeting used to be the Tuesday before the commission's Thursday meeting. And we moved it back to 8 days specifically so people could go and have discussions between us and the commission. So that's where we are. And I think we are now technically out of having a discussion that's out of order. So as long as we're not, so do we have any objection to adjourning? Without objection, we adjourn at 8:08. It's still recording.